Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room. Then and now, I'm Greg Christ, along with Frank Fear. Frank, welcome into the show. How you doing this evening?
Doing great, Greg. Good to see you and good to have everyone with us.
Always good to get together each week and talk a little Mountaineer sports, and I hope to do that same thing again tonight. We had a great show last week, and it was truly enjoyable show talking to Grannis Bell and hearing all about the officiating. Hopefully, our guest this week will be just as good as all the others if we can find him. That's our problem right now. Got to track him down.
Well, one of the challenges always is you don't use the technology every day that we use on this show. So
Yeah.
but I've been communicating with Jock. Really, what an incredible player he was, not only
Oh
in
man.
college but in the pros. We'll show
Yeah.
those data later, but we'll persevere until he can join us.
That's right. And that if you heard Frank refer to Jock, of course, he's talking about Jock Sanders, former Mountaineer great. What an offensive weapon that guy was. You'd send us a graphic of his stats, and my goodness, I mean, it was receiving, rushing, punt returns, kickoff returns. Did it all, not only on the college level, but in the pros as well, in the CFL. And, again, that's another one of those guys I remember well. I remember watching him and what the heck of a player he was. And you talk about this the technology. Frank, we use it a lot. We can't figure it out. So somebody coming in that's not used it before might have a little struggle with it.
Yeah, in fact, he just got in contact with me. He's having connection issues. And so, what I'm going to do is let's talk just for a few minutes here, and then Mickey will come in, and then
Okay.
I'll get out of the way from the studio and help. Hopefully, I can help Jock get into our studio.
Yep, that'll be good. Yeah, we got lots of stuff to talk about. We were just talking before we came on the air about the baseball team. But you said they won again today, and I think you said 19-6 over Ohio. Baseball team, looks eerily similar to teams in the past couple of years, and that they can absolutely hit the baseball, and they're showing that already in this early season. Um, Giving up some runs, but man, are they putting them across the plate right now?
Yeah, I mean, right now they're 6-1. They moved up to number 24. Actually, in the Big 12, the only other Big 12 team that's ranked is TCU at number, I think, 16 now. And yet, what's really crazy about that is they have a losing record. They played a very,
Yeah,
very tough
yeah,
opening sequence of games, whereas the Mountaineers are 6-1. I thought they were going to be They're going to be 6-1 now. Yes, I thought they were going to be have those 6 wins in their last series because they had the bases loaded in the top of
yeah,
the ninth,
yep,
and they had 2-0 on the batter, and they brought in a reliever, and we figured, okay, somebody's going to hit a double or whatever, and this game's going to be over because they had shut out. They had shut out the team the first two games, and they played Liberty. And wouldn't you know, the reliever came in and threw strikes to get the first batter out, and then struck out the next two, and the
yep,
Mountaineers went down. But anyway,
yeah.
they've got a good team. Let's see what happens. I mean, the Big 12 is always going to be a dogfight.
Oh
Arizona
yeah.
State is undefeated, and they open the season in the middle of March. They'll be playing Baylor at Baylor, so we'll know more about this team. They look
Oh yeah.
very strong.
Well, they look like we've talked about this. They look like a really good defensive team. It looks like defensively we're pretty solid. But it always comes down to pitching. It doesn't make any difference what level you're on, whether it's little league, senior league, big league, college, pros. You got to have pitching, and our pitching first few games look pretty solid. Last few games, they've wavered a little bit, give up some runs. But for a cold weather place like this is, for the baseball team to jump out and start like they do is pretty impressive, really. You look at these guys, and you mentioned Arizona State, and it's surprising. they're not ranked up there being undefeated because they're one of those warm weather places where they're outside and can get out and play year round, and work and do those things, and here and you can say what you want, but going in a batting cage is different than going out on the field and facing live pitching or whatever it is. So it's such an advantage for those warm weather places. And I know if you look at, and I haven't looked at the top 20, top 25, but I'm guessing, most of those top 10 teams are probably warm weather places. And again, I haven't looked at it, but I would just guess. And, it's surprising that like Arizona State's not in that ranking. But like you said, that all plays out. That really doesn't matter at this particular time. It'll all play out as the season goes on. It's a long season. So let's go ahead and bring Mickey and Frank. I'll let you get off and get Jock, try to get him hooked up, and we'll bring Mickey in, and Mickey and I can chat a little bit about what's going on. Hello, Mickey. Good to see you back in action.
Hey, yeah, back once again, Greg. Just like a bad penny, keep turning up here every now and
then. Well, now careful what you speak. They're doing away with the penny, so we don't want to go down that road.
Yeah, that's right. I can become obsolete here.
I had my first experience with that yesterday. I went in a convenience store, and they had a sign on the counter that said, "Please try to use a card or the exact change, as we have a shortage of pennies since they banned them." And so I didn't have anything, but I had a cash. I don't remember what it was, and I got 46 cents back with some bills. And I said, "Here, you can have this penny since you're also hard up for these pennies." So I said, "Why don't you adjust your pricing a little bit and make everything round off, And wouldn't that be simpler?" And then she explained to me that places like McDonald's and other places, if you are under the 50-cent level or under the 5-cent level, I forget, they round down. If it's above, they round up. So
they rounded up.
Yeah. They say they do.
They always round up in their favor, I think, right?
Yeah, sure seems that way. Oh well, nothing we can do about that. I've often wondered about the penny when they say it costs more to make one than it's worth. Not very good math.
Yep, that's what they say.
It makes sense to get rid of it. So
we'll talk a little basketball here until
absolutely,
absolutely.
Got women's team looking strong, men's team floundering. Tell you what, Mickey, I'm the eternal optimist when it comes to our teams. I am a Mountaineer fan through and through, and I always think we got a chance, and I always feel good about our chances. And we're going to win this next. We'll get better. We're going to improve. I'm very disappointed right now in the way the men's team is, the way that's all playing out. I mean, we've talked all year about the good defense, which they had been playing. But man, their offense just, and I mean, if you play good defense, you're going to be in games, but if you don't score, if you score 55 points, you're going to lose most of the time. And we have just had a horrible time getting the ball in the basket. Man, I don't know what's happened to these guys.
Well, I'll tell you, with 3 consecutive losses here in the last 3 games. But when you look at it, I'm not really I can't say that I'm disappointed, Greg. I wish we were doing better, of course. But, I mean, seeing how first year for most of all these players, first year for the coach. If you go back, I went back, I took a look at the preseason polls. And we were projected to go 9-9 in the Big 12, okay, in the preseason polls. A lot of people said, well, we were projected not to win a game, but I went back and researched that, and actually, projection was 9-9. So right now we're actually 7-8 in the Big 12, and we got 3 games left: BYU, Kansas State, and UCF. So we still have a shot. As you say, I'm a perennial optimist. I never want to give up. If we can win, well, I think we got to win out to have any consideration at all
Yeah.
for getting in the tournament. Even where we are, that Joe Godardi, I think his name is, that does all the prognostications there.
Right.
He's still got us as in the first 4 teams out of the tournament. But I mean, we got 3 games left, and we've actually beaten Central Florida at their place. Now we got them in Morgantown. BYU is going to be a toughie, but K-State's got a losing record. So I don't know if we could win, 2 out of 3. Then here's what I'm hoping for, Greg. I would just like to see us have a winning percentage in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Because I think that positions us for some postseason activity, whether it's NCAA tournament related or not.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I went back. I did some research on postseason play opportunities. Of course, most people are talking about the NIT, but what some folks may have forgotten about is the fact that there is another alternative out there besides the NIT. So I went and I took a look at that a couple of days ago. It's called the CBC,
Yep.
College Basketball Crown. Last year was the first year for that. It was started by Fox Sports, along with a company by the name of AEG. And they only picked, whereas the NIT has 32 teams in it, they only picked like 16 teams last year to play in that. And this year, they're only picking 8 teams to play in that.
Okay.
But one of the things I discovered that I wasn't aware of is that the Big 12 has a contract with Fox Sports that they'll take 2 teams out of the Big 12. The 2 top ranked teams that don't make the NCAA, they're contractually required to take them in the CBC tournament. And there'll be 8 teams. There'll be 8 teams in it. There'll be some from the Big 12, some from the Big 10, and some from the Big East. So, although most people are talking about getting in NIT, I'd rather see us get in this CBC tournament. And if we keep our heads above water here in these final 3 games, even if we only win 1 of the 3, we still have an opportunity to finish 9th in the Big 12. And if you assume that the NCAA may take 8 teams out of the Big 12, I think there's 7 teams in the Big 12 right now that have 20-plus game winning seasons going. So, there's 7 that should make it for sure. But if we can be next man up in terms of barely missing the NCAA, but eligible for the CBC, I kind of like to see us go play in that tournament. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think for right now the NIT is probably a little bit better known just because it's been around for so long. But I think a lot of the prestige is worn off of that, and I think that CBC is growing. It's gotten more attention as time has gone on, and I'm kind of like you. I wouldn't mind seeing us in that. The only thing I do like about the NIT is they play some home games, and WVU, they get with the good crowds we have. Typically, if we're in the NIT, we get some home games, which would be nice. But I'm like you. I think that that CBC, it's going to be more competitive. You know what I mean? It's going to be better teams, and I think in that regard, it would be better. I just think it's important though that we get a play. I think that a lot of people, we don't want to do that. We don't want that. But it's really not the tournament so much as it is the extra time you get. And if
Right.
you can, you get in there and you win 3 or 4 games in that NIT. Well, that's extra, extra month of playing, and that's going to do nothing but benefit folks to make them better. and the more you play, the better you're going to get. And we got some young guys on that team that could really benefit from that, I think. And I think one of the hard things that these young guys, these freshmen coming in, for example, I know we got a couple that have been pretty productive, but it's this grind, 2-3 nights a week playing, making these long trips on these planes. And I think some of them have struggled with that. And, this extra playing just, to me, gears them more, toward the college game and what we're up against and what they're up against. And I think it would be beneficial. But I'm kind of like you. I kind of like to see us in a CBC. I think that would be fun. I think it'd be more competitive, better teams, if you will, in it. And I think it would do us good to play. You mentioned the season stats, and pardon me for this cough. I've had it for a week or two here. Can't get rid of it. But, not totally disappointed in our season. I didn't have high expectations coming in. Now, after I watched us play a little bit, then I thought, man, this could be a pretty good basketball team here, And they play like it at times, I think what I'm most disappointed is the lack of progression. I really thought that by this time of the year, especially offensively, we would be a lot better. Defensively, I thought we've played well defensively all year. And, you look at the scores of our games, even the games we would lose, it would be 67-64 and 70-67. If you're holding teams to that number, you got a good chance to win them. But we just been in a funk, I think, offensively. And, watching our guys last night, we went through these lulls. We would, and we've done that all season. We play well, and then boom, it's like we run into that brick wall, and we just could not get over the hump. We just couldn't get it going, and we hit a few, and then right back to the lull. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen with a team like this. But anyway, hopefully it'll get better.
Let me. Yeah, and I kind of agree with you on that point as well, Greg. And then we'll get Frank back in there in a moment. Yeah. The way we started the season, we won the first 6 games. Then we lost 2 in that tournament down in Savannah or Charleston, South Carolina, I guess it was. And then we won 3 or 4 immediately after that. So all of a sudden we're like 10-2. It really gets your hopes up. But I agree with you from this respect that I don't think the team has really progressed as much as we had hoped that they would. But you go back and you look, we had a great win over Kansas. We lost to Ohio State by 1 or 2 points in double overtime, as I recall.
Yeah.
And then as badly as we played the last 3 games, we lost by 5, 6, and 7 points respectively. So it's not like we're getting a beat down or anything like that.
Right.
I think this I'll finish up one more point on this CBC tournament. Now I'll turn it back over to Frank. I think it would give us an opportunity to get national exposure because of the eliteness of the teams that will be there. They play this tournament. You mentioned you don't have an opportunity to play any games at home. They play all the games in Las Vegas between April the 1st and April the 5th, and they're all televised either on Fox Sports or FS1, one or the other. So it's a chance to get some exposure. But the thing I really like about it, Greg, and I didn't know this until I started researching this thing, is if you finish first place in the tournament, you're awarded $300,000. If you finish second place, you're awarded $100,000. And even if you're in third place in a tournament, you still get $50,000 plus all your travel expenses for going and competing in the tournament are paid for by Fox Sports and the tournament organizers. And guess where that money is earmarked to go to?
NIL.
You want NIL, exactly right. So it is an opportunity to feed our NIL coffers a little bit if we would get in and do well. Whereas in NIT, there's no monetary awards for for going out there and competing. In one way, it kind of impugns the purity of amateur athletic competition. But hey, it seems to be by the boards these days anyway.
Yeah.
So
We're pretty much over it. Yeah.
why not take advantage of it? So that's
Yeah,
my
that's right.
2 cents worth on the CBC versus the NIT, which I think we will end up in one or the other.
Yeah, I think so too. Good job, Mickey, with that. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a good topic of conversation. Let's get Frank to jump back in here and tell us what's going on with the weather. Here he is.
Well, as we did, unless something changes and Jock can get in, unfortunately, I think we're not going to be able to feature him tonight, which is really disappointing because just the great athlete he was, not only in West Virginia but also in the Canadian Football League. And Darren, if you have a chance to throw up those stats, so we can at least look at those to reinforce what a great the numbers surprised me. As good as he was at West Virginia, I mean, this guy could run with the ball, receive the ball, and play special teams both ways in terms of kickoff and punt returns. Look at those numbers in the CFL. And if you've ever watched CFL football, you realize how important kickoff returns are and punt returns are. And so, Jock had a great career of 9 years between college and pro, and just distinguished himself. And now he's coaching in Florida, and we're going to talk about him. And learned a lot last week, or not learned as much, but reinforced our understanding about how the Mountaineers back in the day, and this wasn't that long ago, really recruited Florida, particularly South Florida, and so Jock was one of those players, but just a great player.
Yeah, he was a great player. If you didn't get to see him play, he could play, and I remember fondly watching him, and he was a heck of a player, just an offensive juggernaut. And you mentioned that Canadian Football League. We've had a few former Mountaineers go to the Canadian Football League and it make a big impression. One other that sticks out in my mind is Avon Coburn. Played and was a big star up there. And my college roommate, he lives in Saskatchewan. He's a Rough Rider fan, and I think he played for the Rough Riders for a while. So he would send me not my friend, but Avon Coburn, and he would send me videos and newspaper clippings and things of his accomplishments up there. And yeah, these guys, that CFL is it's pretty good football league. I mean, it's not fill-in players, if you will. These guys can play, and they're, if you're going to pick out something that's close to the NFL, it's pretty close. And if you look, over the history of it with the quarterbacks, you think about Warren Moon and the guy from Buffalo. Can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but they're a great quarterback back during the 80s. Those guys started in the CFL, and that's where they got their sea legs, if you will. And so it's a good football league. So I was interested in talking to Jock about that, but we'll get him back on and get the technology figured out and get him at another time.
Yeah, I would say too, just to give a pat on the back to Mickey about this CBC.
Yes.
By the way, there's a story here. They were going to call it the college basketball thing. And I recommended call it the college basketball crown. So I'm an insider now. And anytime they have a basketball question, they call me, I call Greg, and then we get them the information they need. But seriously, Mickey nailed it, because the NIT has been losing its luster for quite some time.
Yeah.
Even though back in the day, going way back, going to the 30s and 40s and 50s, there really wasn't early on an NCAA tournament. The NIT was the tournament. And West Virginia, with Rudy Barrick, West Virginia guy who was captain of the team, later became a coach, head coach for West Virginia. They won it all. And that really put West Virginia basketball in the 40s on the national map. And last year, Mickey nailed it. Two teams, those two teams in the Big 12, UCF and Arizona State. And UCF went all the way to the championship game, and they were beaten by Nebraska that won the crown. And think about Nebraska this year. They won like 21 in a row. They're competing for the Big Ten championship. And when you consider the money, the media exposure, if I'm an athletic director and I had to choose between the CBC and NIT, whatever politics there are, I wouldn't know. But the fact of the matter is that the CBC would be a better thing. And and Mickey was right on another point. There's a required participation. So as I said, Arizona State and UCF were the two picks out of the league last year. We'll just see how it goes. But the other thing, Greg, and I want to pick your brain on this because the game not only in terms of the game itself, but also what it takes to put together a program and how you deal with certain patterns in the game. And what we're seeing now, 5 games. I mean, we're seeing it 5 games: Cincinnati, UCF, Utah, TCU, and then Oklahoma State last night. Mountaineers get off to a very slow start, and they have to come from behind. They've been successful twice. For my money, I think they should have been successful all 5 times.
Yeah.
I mean, for Pete's sake, UCF's a good team.
Yeah.
And UC has some talent. But, you can't tell me Utah is a good team. You can't.
Right.
How TCU's in the conversation for the NCAA, I can't figure that out. Yeah. And Oklahoma State, my God, they were almost playing horse last night with some of those wild shots that went in. But what's happening now in the last 3 games, West Virginia comes from behind, gets ahead or close to getting ahead, and then seems to lose it. And I'm sure, because of the energy it takes to come back. But what's your take on that? Where, you've come from behind twice and you've won, and then you come from behind again, double digits, but at the very end, you just run out of gas, and it's 3 games in a row now.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we've seen from this is how good we can be. When we get going, we're not talking about just coming back. We're talking about coming back from 14, 16, 18 down in a half. And, I think it goes to show that when we get going offensively, we're a heck of a team. We're hard to beat. But this thing with, these slow starts, I think we talked about this one other time. As a coach, it would, it's just like shooting the ball, and Mickey knows this from playing golf. If you get out there and you start thinking too much, the next thing you know, you're over in the woods looking for your ball, thinking, man, why'd I hit that slice off a driver? What am I doing wrong? And it gets in your head, and then you start overcompensating. The next thing you know, you hook it and you're in the pond. And, I think the same thing kind of happens, and we need Lou Colacioni on here, the psychology guy, talk a little bit about that. But I think I think that stuff gets in your head and you start pressing so hard trying to correct it, and you overcompensate. And I think we come out during the games knowing, what kind of offensive team we can be. And I think at the beginning of the games, they're just pushing for that to happen. And, they don't settle in until, almost the end of the first half, beginning of the second half. They don't settle in and just relax and play the game. And I think when they get behind like that, they just relax and play. Next thing you know, good things start happening. The more good things happen, it snowballs, and we've been able to come back and win some of these games. But as a coach, I don't know that you, directly talk about that, because I think, the more you talk about it, the worse it gets, in my opinion. I think that it's just something that you got to play through. And, you may mention it, but I wouldn't a whole lot. I may say, let's see if we can get off to a good start, or let's go have a good start, whatever the case may be. But I don't think it's something that I mean, if there was a magic button to click and fix it, I'm sure it would already be fixed. So I don't know that there's a fix for it other than mentally as players. And as a coach, you may say this, guys, just relax, have some fun, go out there and enjoy yourself and play the game and quit forcing so much. And because it looks like, and Mickey, Frank, you guys both have watched these games. The first half is a struggle. I mean, it's a struggle to watch. So they're struggling to play it. And what's the hardest thing to do is when your offense is not clicking, is to play good defense. But we've been able to maintain that, keeps us in there long enough till we can get going. So, I don't know if there's a whole lot as a coach you can do about slow starts. I'm sure he shuffled the lineup a little bit, trying to get a spark here and there. I don't know what always tried, but I don't know that you talk about it a whole lot other than just tell the guys, get yourself mentally ready, go out there and relax, play the game, and just enjoy yourself. You miss a shot, you miss a shot. And I think if they could do that, you might see some improvement. And I mean, I'm not a basketball genius, and I know, these guys have forgotten more about basketball than I have. These coaches and than I ever knew, and I'm sure they've addressed it in their own way, in different ways. There was a time period when I was coaching, had a really good team, good shooters, couldn't shoot foul shots. We shoot foul shots in practice. And most boring thing in the world you can do as a coach. So you try to change it up, make it, make some games out of it, whatever. And then one day I said, you know what? I told the team this. I said, we're spending 25, 30 minutes a day out of a 2.5 hour practice shooting foul shots. And, we're shooting 70%, 65%. And I said, so the way I'm looking at this is we're wasting time. So forget the foul shots. We're not shooting anymore. We'll work on other things that we can get better at because we're not getting any better at this. And it actually improved a little bit after that. We quit putting emphasis on it and quit shooting them in practice, and we actually started shooting them a little bit better. Got up to about 75% before the year was over. So, it's a lot of this stuff's just mental, and I really think we're struggling with that part of it mentally. And before I stop my ramble, Frank, you know how many other times we won the NIT other than, what'd you say, 1942?
Yeah, 42, 43. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
Yeah. You know how many times we won that thing? We've been in it I think we've been in it 16 times.
Really?
We won.
Wow.
Yeah, we won it twice.
Yeah.
Won in 42 and we won it in 07.
How about that?
And, that's when John Beeline was coaching there.
Yeah.
And
John Beeline. It was John Beeline's last year.
Yep. I think Darius Nichols hit a corner jumper to beat Mississippi or Mississippi State, one of those teams, for that win. So, good stuff. But anyway, I hope that answer. I know a lot of people probably rolling their eyes, but that's coming from the heart. That's what I truly believe. It's just a mental thing.
Yeah, there's a structural issue too, I think. That may be too strong, but Mick, you and I were talking about it over the weekend, and that is when you look at what DeVries did when he came in. When you think about Small was a power player. He had a lot of experience under the belt at Oklahoma State, and he brought in 2 players from Illinois, also a power school. Hansberry was one of them. The point, in fact, I'm going to shout out to Dave Wendell up in the Northern Panhandle, who brought this to mind as we were talking back and forth. I interviewed Dave for Daryl Prue's book. And by the way, shout out to Daryl. It's his birthday.
Happy birthday, Daryl.
Yeah, along with Pat White, is his birthday. But the thing that came out was, he said, now, as we were conversing, when you bring in a guy like Small from Oklahoma State, you pretty much know what you have. But when you bring in mid-major players, you asking yourself the question: are they going to be able to make that next step? And that's a lot of, when you think about Moore, mid-major at St. Bonaventure, you think about Eagle Staff, mid-major, lower mid-major at North Dakota. And then obviously Huff is from mid-major. a North Carolina, University of North Carolina branch, and they've all played well. And a lot of people are saying that, Hansberry's been a disappointment. So, stimulated by Dave, I went and looked at his stats, and I asked Mickey to respond here. And he did average 10 points more a game last year at North Dakota. But then I looked at its shooting percentage and minutes played. His shooting percentage last year from 2 and 3 is about the same as last year. Then I said, how in the hell did he have 10 more points per game? Duh, he played more.
Yeah. And you look at, you even talk about Eagle staff, for example. A lot of people are disappointed with his performance. If you look at his stats and his shooting percentage and all that, it's not bad. It's not bad. But these guys are, it's a different game. For one, they're not out there for 38 minutes. They're not the big guy. They're not the stud of the team that's getting the ball every time, getting the shot every time. Frank, 50% of 50 shots is saying it's 50% of 10 shots. It just don't look as good. You know what I mean? Percentage wise, it's the same. And so you're not the big fish in the pond anymore. And so a lot of people look at that and think, he's not doing anything. But when, like you said, when you look at those stats and you compare them, they're not far off from what you had before. So I don't know if the expectations are just over the top, or if people are just not looking at it realistically, or what their expectations are. But these guys, and you take Huff for example. I mean, you get a guy coming in like that from a mid-major. I mean, that guy can be electric. He is something else. And if you made every shot, then it'd be easy, obviously, and nobody makes every shot. But when that guy gets going, he is something to behold. And so I think, talent-wise, they have performed, I think, for the most part, pretty close to where you have to expect them to if you go back and look at history. Mickey, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that is my feeling.
Well, I just, again, I'm not that disappointed in the team or the season. I think we've done relatively well, given the fact it's the first year for the coach, first year for all the players. Yeah, a couple of things that, I kind of question, I wonder why Eagle staff has not gotten more playing time. As you said, Greg, 50% of 50 shots is a lot more than 50% of 10 shots. So I think I would have him out there. I'm not sure how many minutes he's gotten per game this year, but I think I would have him out there as long as his body could hold up to the physical challenge of it. And that's another point I would make too, with this trend that we have of having to exert so much energy to come back from a 14, 16, or 18-point deficit. And then once you make that comeback, you got momentum in your favor, and then it kind of switches back the other way. I wonder, having, played a different sport, a lot of the fourth quarter just has to do with conditioning.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how many wind sprints these guys are running before and after practice, and if they're running out of steam. I think part of the reason why they are running out of steam is because of continually having to exert so much energy to make these comebacks. That's part of it for sure. But I'd just like to see one of their practices, see how many wind sprints they're running before and after practice. To your point about the foul shooting, Greg, to me, I mean, that has been the biggest weakness of this team all year. Last night, they shot 50% from the foul line, 50%. And I dare say, I don't know what the number is this far for the season, but I'd have to guess it's no better than 60-65%.
Probably.
So if you go back and look at the scoring in each game, if we were simply better free throw shooters, we'd won 4, 5, 6 more games than we actually won. So I think, if I was looking at things to improve upon, number one, it would be conditioning, and number two, it would be free throw shooting.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah, and again, a lot of that, like I said, we quit shooting them in our practices, but and I think this reinforces it. I watched my son's team play down at Winthrop. I watched them a couple weeks ago. They shot 45 foul shots in a game. They were 40 of 45, and a couple games later, 3 games later, they were 15 for 26. And I thought, man, wrong guys getting to the line. So I went back and checked it. There was only one different free throw shooter that shot front end of one-on-one and missed it. So it was the same guys who shot 40 out of 45, also shot 15 out of 27. And so to me, that right there shows that it's something mental. It could be fatigue. I lean more toward the mental side of things, lack of focus, lack of concentration. And I don't know what you do mentally to fix it. I'm not a psychologist, but they all have them. So maybe they get their psychologist to work on that a little bit. And, we go back to that 2007 NIT, Mickey. This brought up a funny point I wanted to make. If you look closely at that picture, and I believe that is, I forgot his name, big guy. It's not Rob Summers, is it? My eyes are so bad I can't see anymore. But if you notice the T-shirts, we get the money for playing in the CBC. In NIT, you get a trophy that has a net over a ball, and you get a T-shirt that has your name spelled wrong. If you look at that, Virginia is misspelled. So now we might know why.
Boy, I tell you.
And now you know why the Prestige is going toward the CBC instead of the NIT.
The CBC, yeah. You go to NIT, you get a T-shirt with your name misspelled on it. And,
that's right. Well, that was good, Darren. Applause for Darren for quickly finding that photo. I got some news here I can't believe. Talking about basketball, the women's side, they're playing real time as we're on the air. And they are a 21.5 favorite to beat UCF at Orlando tonight. And they're behind at halftime, 27-25. And UCF is 10-17. And so the women are doing really well. They keep on climbing the rankings. They've only got a couple games left. In fact, you got TCU. Losing to TCU the other night was really, really tough. But they play Cincinnati on Sunday, and then you go to the tournament. And this team has a real chance of not only winning the Big 12, although TCU is really good, but at the very least getting a really high seed. A good seed in the NCAA tournament. So the men are going to play another week, but the women pretty much end it at early March. And then by next week, and we're going to get a double bye. So we won't see any action in the Big 12 tournament until next weekend. But this is, 27-25. But hopefully the Mountaineers will mount a rally in the second half and beat UCF. That would be a big upset.
Yeah, and this women's team, Mickey was talking about the fatigue thing with the men. You watch this women's team play; they're after you 4 quarters nonstop, and I think they're in pretty good condition. And that wins them a lot of games, especially in the second half. They start, that full court pressure, and that I was going to say man to man. I guess it's woman to woman. defense wears people out. They get tired. You can see it. And the women's team has been impressive from the get-go. They've lost a disappointing game or two here and there, but for the most part, they've done what they wanted to do. They've won big games, beat good teams. And I think we saw over to Greenbrier back when the season first started what kind of grit this team
Absolutely.
had. I think that was a good sign from the very beginning and a good indication that this team was going to be something special.
Yeah. A lot of great things going on with the women playing, and the men they'll be there. I mean, I agree with Mick's assessment completely. It's too easy for talking heads like us to be critical of athletes. And the fact of the matter is, he had to put together, West Virginia was one of the teams in the country that had to replace 100% of their roster.
Yep.
And so he did the best job he could. And again, same with Rich Rod, having to do a coaching search when he didn't even think you were going to have to do one late.
Right.
And so he brought, and I would say, particularly on the positive side, again, I'm sort of a numbers geek. Chance Moore played for St. Bonaventure, and he played pretty much the entire game for the Bonnies last year. I mean, 35 minutes a game. And his shooting percentage is higher this year, playing against consistently better talent. No, I mean, the A-10 is a fine conference. Bonaventure is competitive. St. Louis is, they got really a surprise loss the other night. They seem to be the class of the A-10, but Bonaventure is competitive, and but boy, he's really met the challenge this year. And Eagle Huff has had his moments. That was the difference last night. I mean, Huff and Eagle staff were hitting their shots, and they both scored. Unlike a couple of the games where they were like 2 for 18 between them. But it's you live for another day. But BYU, my God, 20-8. They're going to play him Saturday at 5:30. It'll be on TV. They got a guy, AJ. Let me see, get it right. AJ Dabansa, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's a freshman, Greg. He's averaging 25 points a game.
Yeah, Frank, I don't know if you remember or not, but last year, it was football season when we played at BYU. I don't know if you remember him up in the stands, and they kept showing him, and the crowd was.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that. That was him. Yeah, that was him. And he's a baller. He can play. I tell you what, great opportunity. I think that's the way I look at this is the opportunity for us to knock off a very good opponent, and the next two games. I've watched this Kansas State team. I've watched them a lot this year because my son played at Wheeling, and one of his buddies that played with him there actually plays for Kansas State now, and NIL money, and so I've paid attention to them and watched them quite a bit. They're terrible, and I mean they are atrocious.
They are.
And you hate to be critical again, but they're just not any good. And so we should win that one. And UCF, we've already proven we can beat them. So to me, this game Saturday is a golden opportunity for us, to get it going. And Frank, and you mentioned Eagle staff and Huff and shooting so well. You notice the gigantic difference in, and I know this is Captain Obvious here, but in the total points scored. Well, we have 84 last night.
Yeah,
that's the most we've scored in I don't know how many games.
Yeah.
By a lot. By 20. And so just but apparently our defense. They were throwing in some stuff, but our defense wasn't what it usually is. We got to get them both clicking at the same time, but I just think that shows the difference when those guys hit a few shots. What a difference offensively it makes, and our point total skyrockets. And for a team that plays as good a defense as we do, if we can score 84 points in a game, we should probably win.
We should
win those games. Yeah, we should win those games. So I'm not totally giving up on them yet. I still think I'm disappointed. I just think the progression has been kind kind of slow, not what we wanted, but uh, they can be very good. And there are times when you watch them, you're just like, man, how does this team lose so many games? But if we had answers to all those questions, we'd all be
right.
making big time bucks being coaches. So
Yeah,
we'll keep
and
our fingers
it's
crossed.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then there's football. We had all that excitement with the portal, and then the early signing period, and then the portal, and putting together the roster, and then it really goes silent for a bit in terms of. I mean, there are always things to talk about, and
Yeah.
the big
Mhm.
issue over the last couple of weeks has been: is there going to be conference reorganization again?
Right.
And will the ACC and Big 12 merge, et cetera, et cetera? But the big news is that the spring game date has been set,
Yes.
April 18th. Remember last year, Rich Rod wanted it early because he had to go back in the portal again. He wanted to see these guys, and then he knew
Right.
he had to go back in the portal. The year before with Coach Brown, it was the last Saturday in April. And so now it's going to be the 18th. And practice starts the end of next week. So we've got only about 6 days before, Rich Rod will give us those briefings again. And so there'll be a lot more to talk about in terms of football. And, Mickey was talking about looking at the looking at the predictors in terms of what it's going to be. And a lot of times they're right, but a lot of times you roll their eyes. Brett McMurray came out I think about a week ago. Why he did this, I have no idea. But he said he picked his bowl teams. And actually, not only picked his bowl teams, he identified which bowl teams would be in. And I'm saying to myself,
What?
why? Why? You can't get that right 3 weeks before there, or 2 weeks or a week before they make the picks. Anyway, what really pissed me off is only two Big 12 teams were not in any bowl: Iowa State and West Virginia. God, I hope he's going to be wrong. I mean, that's just, I think that's, again, my feeling, Greg and Mickey, it's against humanity. That article was inhumane and against humanity. But isn't that something? Oh, Lordy, makes me sick. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's keep.
I don't. Frank, you're like me. I will look at some of these predictions and some of these things, but if you go back and do a little research on these guys, um, they're no better at it than we are. I mean, they're not any better than we are picking these games and that sort of stuff. So I don't pay attention to what they say. They just say it louder than we do, and they got a bigger platform. So don't put a lot of don't fret over it, Frank. It'll be all right. We're gonna be fine.
Okay, yeah. I tell you, I need Mickey to calm me down because that really pissed me. It pissed me off. But
Yeah.
and I have a lot of respect for him. He is a great writer, and but I think it also shows you at this time of year, these guys have got to get things in print, and they're reaching for topics, So anyway, yeah, it was really really interesting.
They're going for what they call clickbait. They want people getting upset and angry and having to go see their therapist, like you, Mickey. So they're trying to get those people clicking on them. Hey, guys, before we sign off for the night, I know I'm not sure what time it is, but I feel like we're getting a little close. We want to make sure that we and I want Mickey to have a chance as well. Say a word about Mike Dunlap, a good friend of ours we know, passed away recently, and Mike was a friend of our show. Was a big help to our show, and he was a friend to us more than anything. He and I know Frank, you did as well. We spoke on the phone at least once a week, and you probably more than that. But Mike had become a very good friend of ours, and battled tough illnesses for a long time. Succumbed to those recently, and his services will be Saturday at the Roush Funeral Home in Ravenswood, and that is the viewing is from 11 to 2. people can go and visit at that point, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock at the Rouse Funeral Home in Ravenswood. And I just want to make sure that we mentioned Mike and his family, to let them know we're thinking about Mike and thinking about them. We miss him already, and what a great friend, and tough loss for us.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a real warrior. He was in the hospital off and on for, since Thanksgiving 2024, for Pete's sake. Had an accident at home. And
yeah, oddly enough, he and I went in the hospital about the same time. Yeah,
that's right. He never really made that pirouette back for an extended period of time, and it's tough. And as you know, I'll be flying in to be at the ceremony on Celebration Remembrance on Saturday, which shows you, our respect for the guy, and just an incredible guy. But Mickey, your thoughts?
Well, just a great guy, a great athlete, but he was a member of the West Virginia High School Hall of Fame. Just a good patriot, a good West Virginian, a true Mountaineer, a good friend of our shows, and may he rest in peace. He will be missed, no doubt about that.
Yeah, player of the year, Morgantown Touchdown Club Player of the Year, All America, and you're right. True Mountaineer sums it up, Greg.
Yep, he won the Hunt Award and as the best lineman in the state. Mike, was recruited by everybody, and back then, and that was kind of my heyday. 80, I think, 84 is when he was All American. I just got out of college, but you didn't hear much about players in West Virginia. Being high school All-Americans and being recruited by Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan and all these places. It just didn't happen very often in our state. And Mike was one of the early ones, and that happened with, and quite a football player. And tough guy too. He battled this thing. I know he and I spent a lot of time talking about illnesses on the phone. And because I'd gone through some stuff myself, and I just thought, man, there's always somebody got a little bit worse than the things he went through. And he fought hard for a long time, and I think survived longer probably than any of those doctors ever expected him to. So he fought a tough fight, and we're going to miss him. And I know, he loved being on the show. He loved talking Mountaineer sports, and Mike was, kind of like us. He was a positive fan. He even when he was upset and ticked off, he'd still remain positive about the Mountaineers, because that's what a true Mountaineer fan does. Try to see the good in everything. But yeah, he was a good friend to all of us, and we're going to surely miss him.
Mm-hmm. That's right, absolutely. Yep. Well, we'll have another good show next week.
Yep.
Filled in. We really missed not having Jock here, but player from the 80s, a lineman, John Stroya, was another great pickup by Mark Parsons.
Yep, another good player too, Frank.
Yep, very good player, and he's looking forward to being on the show, and we'll learn more about what he has been up to in the years since he was played for the Mountaineers, and so we're looking forward to having John with us next week.
Yep, that'll be fun, and we hate that we couldn't get Jock Sanders on tonight. Again, technology took the lead for tonight, and we'll get that rectified, and we'll get Jock on it at a later date, I'm sure, because he was. It's not like he ghosted us and didn't want to be on. It's just he couldn't get the technology to work. So we'll definitely get him back. And I want to send this out to our production crew and all the people working behind the scenes. Who is that? Oh, there's not anybody. Okay. I won't send it out. I was just going to say, man, we can get with these guys a little bit earlier, work on this technology, guys. Let's go. But there's nobody to fuss at. So there is no production team to fuss at. Darren, can you not do something about
There's
this?
Darren. We got Darren.
That's right.
Darren's there, yeah.
Blame it on Darren. That's right. But
No.
yeah, we'll get Jock back. We'll get that straightened out and get him back. But next week will be fun with John Stroy. I know. I'm sure Mickey remembers being an offensive lineman. You remember him? He was a baller, man. He could play, and
he was a player, no doubt about it.
Yes, good lineman. So, but anyway, that'll do her. We managed to fluff our way through a show and without a guest, and hopefully next week we'll get that lined out. And again, we'll get Jock Sanders back here in the near future. I'm sure Frank will be in touch with him and get all that ironed out. So appreciate everyone for tuning in here on the Mountaineer Locker Room then and now. We truly appreciate your support. Appreciate you folks that watch and chime in and send messages to us. That always makes us feel better. Even though we're rolling in $100 bills from doing this, we still like to hear attaboys every now and then, right, guys? Everybody have a great evening.
You said rolling in $1 bills?
Yeah, I think that's what I said. I had a middle school coach tell me at one time because I bought new uniforms and I had some boosters they were just really boosters, and they bought a second set of uniforms. This was I was coaching middle school football, and it was John Eric from Fayetteville said, Chris, he's over there at Anstead rolling up $100 bills and smoking tobacco through them. I said, there you go. Guys, great show tonight. Appreciate everybody. Darren, appreciate your hard work. Frank, Mickey, both you guys, as always, experts. Appreciate you as well. We look forward to coming to you again next Wednesday night here on the Mountaineer Locker Room then and now. Good night, everybody.
Then and now.